Welcome to the very first 10 in a Row podcast. My name is Graham Wilson. And joining me is the green and white writer, Paul Larkin. Today is the first installment of the 10 in a Row podcast. And you're probably asking yourself, what is this all about? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to have a lineup of 10 topics, questions, issues of the day concerning Celtic. And Paul and I are going to hash out and try and make sense of each of these issues in 5-minute intervals. We're going to try and keep it concise. Personally, I think this is an excuse for Paul to rip the piss out of me for an entire hour, but we'll see how it pans out. But after
I don't need the excuse.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. But we will have 10 topics, 5 minutes each, and see how it plays out. And Paul and I have been talking about this for quite some time, and we figured that it was a good opportunity here in the closed season to make this happen. So away we go. Paul, are you ready?
I was born ready.
Fantastic. First topic. Will Scott Brown be able to play more than half a season again?
Yeah, I think he will. I think it's obvious that his actual physical fitness is second to none. I mean, you look at what he done when he came into last season. He played the last 3 games and he was absolutely exceptional in all of them. And I think this injury will be something he'll get over. And you can see he's endorsement in the Celtic captain that we all want him to be. And I think it was a really shrewd decision to bring him out for a couple of months and just give him a complete rest. And hopefully you'll see the basis of that for next season.
I agree with you on the standpoint that he is the Celtic captain. I think he embodies everything that you would want in a Celtic captain. Where I differ, it's obvious that his style of play throughout his entire career, and let's be honest, I mean, there's a lot to be desired, but this sort of Roy Keane hard man in the middle that he fancies himself to be is not sustainable. He's going to need to dial it back. The proof in that, it wasn't a situation where we elected to sit him out in the second half of the season. We had to. He had nothing left. I mean, you look at those Juventus games, he was a shell of himself. Even in the run into that, we had to sort of reserve his effectiveness, even in the fall, in the group stages of the Champions League. I think that it's an opportunity here for Scott Brown to reinvent himself as a footballer, where, I mean, you have to evolve in order to prolong his career. He can either play until he's 30 years old, or he can continue playing the way he is now and have to retire at 30 or 31, or he can continue on and play until he's 35 or 36. He needs somebody next to him to do a lot of that running, and he needs to dial it back. And I think he'll be a better football player as a result of it.
So what you're saying is that you were Mr. Hindsight back in December, and you were screaming for that we shouldn't just keep playing Scott Brown with the point to play him in the Juventus games. You should have just taken him out now, and you would have been completely happy with that.
That's exactly what I said. Listen back to the tapes in the fall. I said, shut him down, get him the surgery now so that he can come back fitter.
Yeah, but at expense of the 2 Juventus games. Yeah,
well, I mean, in hindsight, what did it give us? That's what I was saying then. I said that, we had ample replacement at the time. With Wanyama, with Ledley in there, we didn't need to run him back. Now, where I have come around since then is his impact. I mean, what he contributed in that cup final cannot be denied, and his absence in the spring was clearly felt. But I think that there's an opportunity for Scott Brown to go in a different direction. I mean, look at the footwork that he had after sitting out for that long. He's a more complete footballer than I think he's given credit for. Somebody needs to sit him down and say, you know what, it's time to play a bit smarter and sort of reinvent yourself so that you can continue playing like a Pirlo or a Seedorf.
Yeah, but I mean, a big part of Scott Brown's game is his aggression. So what you're saying is we've got to take that aggression out of our Celtic captain. I
think we have to. I don't think we have any other choice at this point. I mean, like I said, he can continue playing the way that he always has throughout his career, and I mean, he's not going to make it. He's not going to. I mean, we're going to start to see him play these half a seasons, and it takes away from the continuity. If you put somebody next to him and you allow him to sort of sit back and be smarter, use his vision, and sort of steady the middle of the park. He doesn't need to be running about like a chicken with his head cut off. Be more disciplined positionally. I think he'd be a better footballer as a result.
But Neil Lennon was able to sustain his career at 37-year-old. Never took any of his aggression away, his passion away. He was still able to pass the ball, was still able to play full seasons and stuff like that. I just think you're kind of over-analysing one injury. I mean, clearly Scott Brown has been blossomed as a player. He's clearly got ability. He clearly had a massive impact on the Scottish Cup final. And he is our leader. and we should be looking to maximise as many games as possible, yeah. But at the same time, he cannot take that aggression out of his game because that's part of his makeup.
I think that the one thing that's different about Neil Lennon compared to Scott Brown, I think Scott Brown's a more complete football player than Neil Lennon ever was. But there's a whole host of issues that we could take up with that. But I think that there's one thing that scares me in this whole Scott Brown episode, and that is degenerative. This isn't a calf strain or something that you can come back from. This is something that is going to sort of solidify this downward trajectory from the peak of his career.
All right, so you're the Celtic manager next season. How do you manage that?
I think you have to sit Scott Brown down in the offseason and have a conversation about how he is going to continue playing and set up the formations as such so that he doesn't have to do as much of the running and he doesn't have to get stuck into everybody and point fingers in people's faces and be, put himself in jeopardy. I mean, we have to look at Pirlo. He has somebody doing the running for him. There's countless examples. I think that it's an opportunity for him to reinvent the way he plays and become a better player. Yeah,
but I mean, if you think about it logistically, so what you're saying is you just put him into certain games. What is he, only a big game player now? You forget the small games that win us the leagues of the year that get us into the Champions League. Scott Brown then just swans into the Champions League group games, performs, then we didn't see him again for 2 weeks.
I think that we're already doing that already, aren't we? I mean, we have to look at last season as the example, and it's a huge concern. It's a huge problem that Neil Lennon's going to have to figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Next topic. Will Joe Ledley sign a contract extension? He only has